Welcome to WT History. In this series, we list all the major events that happened in the world in a year, starting from 1776 to 2024. On January 11th, LaGrange College opens its doors in Alabama. Later known as the University of North Alabama, it's the first publicly chartered college in the state, marking a milestone in Southern higher learning. Just one day later, on January 12th, an iconic debate erupts in the U.S. Senate, the Webster-Hayne debate. Robert Y. Hayne of South Carolina defends states' rights, while Daniel Webster of Massachusetts champions federal authority. Lasting through January 27th, this fiery exchange helps define the constitutional balance of power in America. Then, on March 26th, a foundational text for a new American religion emerges as the Book of Mormon is first published in Palmyra, New York, printed by E.B. Grandin. Just days later, on April 6th, Joseph Smith and 5 others formally organized the Church of Christ, the movement we now know as the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But a darker chapter unfolds on May 28th, when President Andrew Jackson signs the Indian Removal Act into law. This legislation begins the forced relocation of over 60,000 indigenous Americans from the southeastern U.S. to present-day Oklahoma. Known as the Trail of Tears, this act leads to immense suffering and the decimation of tribal cultures, and even involves the relocation of thousands of enslaved African Americans owned by Native people. As a tragic consequence, the mass killing of bison accelerates across North America. On February 3rd, the London Protocol is signed, formally recognizing the independence and sovereignty of Greece after years of war with the Ottoman Empire. A triumphant conclusion to the Greek War of Independence. Just 2 days later, on February 5th, flames engulfed the Argyll Rooms in London, home to the Philharmonic Society's concerts. Thanks to cutting-edge steam-powered fire engines, firefighters saved nearby structures, showcasing a new era of urban emergency response. In Scandinavia, May 15th sees the founding of the Royal Swedish Yacht Club, or KSSS, promoting nautical sports in the Nordic world. On June 26th, Britain's monarch changes as William the Fort ascends the throne, following the death of his brother George Fort. Then, on July 5th, France invades Algiers, initiating colonial rule in what becomes French Algeria, setting off over a century of occupation and resistance. Meanwhile, on July 17th, Barthélemy Thimonnier earns a French patent for his revolutionary sewing machine, capable of stitching at 200 stitches per minute, a game changer in textile manufacturing. On July 20th, Greece becomes the first modern state to grant citizenship to Romaniote Jews, marking a significant step toward inclusivity in the new nation. Later that month, on July 26th, Parisians rise in outrage as King Charles X issues the reactionary July Ordinances. What follows are the 3 glorious days, beginning July 27th, when revolutionaries clash with the National Guard. By July 29th, they've succeeded, the king is overthrown, and a provisional government is formed. King Charles flees to Rambouillet on July 31st and formally abdicates on August 2nd, naming his grandson as heir, though the boy never rules. Instead, on August 9th, Louis Philippe is proclaimed the citizen king, embracing constitutional monarchy. Reorganization continues on August 13th, when the Duc de Broglie is appointed Prime Minister of France. Meanwhile, rebellion spreads to Belgium. On August 25th, the Belgian Revolution ignites in Brussels against Dutch rule, leading to widespread civil unrest. While revolution swirls, innovation marches on. On August 31st, Edwin Budding is granted a British patent for the invention of the lawn mower, trimming gardens ever since. Then, on September 15th, the Liverpool and Manchester Railway opens, the world's first intercity passenger line using steam locomotives, transforming transport forever. Despite Dutch resistance on September 26th, the Belgians hold their ground, forming a provisional government and moving toward constitutional independence. On October 4th, that vision becomes reality as the new Belgian state declares independence. Also in October, Thomas Cochrane patents the world's first airlock, a breakthrough in engineering. Simultaneously, Switzerland enters the Regeneration era, with most cantons adopting liberal constitutions. Political shifts continue on November 2nd, when Jacques Lafitte replaces the Duc de Broglie as France's prime minister. Days later, Ferdinand II ascends as King of the Two Sicilies on November 8th. On November 22nd, two major events unfold. In the UK, Whig leader Charles Grey becomes prime minister, replacing the Duke of Wellington and ushering in reform. Meanwhile, in Switzerland, citizens of Zurich hold the Ostertag, demanding a new constitution. Poland enters the fight for freedom on November 29th, launching the November Uprising against Russian rule in Warsaw. Culture takes the spotlight on December 5th as Hector Berlioz' Symphonie fantastique premieres in Paris, a masterwork that redefines romantic music. Finally, on December 20th, Belgium's independence is officially recognized by the great powers of Europe, sealing the revolution's success. Also this year, Austins of Derry is founded in Northern Ireland, eventually becoming the world's oldest independent department store until its closure in 2016. And in Munich, the stunning Glyptothek Museum opens, displaying classical sculptures and anchoring the city's cultural prestige. On March 28th, the long-running and bloody Java War ends as Dutch forces suppress Javanese rebels in Indonesia, consolidating colonial control. On May 13th, Ecuador formally separates from Gran Colombia, taking a bold step toward national independence. Nature shows its wrath on June 12th when a devastating 7.5 magnitude earthquake hits China's Hebei province, killing more than 7,400 people and causing widespread destruction. Then, on July 13th, Calcutta becomes the cradle of modern Indian education. Alexander Duff and reformer Raja Ram Mohan Roy found the General Assembly's institution, later Scottish Church College, ushering in the Bengali Renaissance. Just days later, on July 18th, Uruguay adopts its first constitution, laying the groundwork for its democratic governance. And in Japan, a quiet retail revolution begins with the founding of Sogo in Osaka, the origin of what will become one of the country's largest department store chains, eventually part of Seven & I Holdings. If you enjoyed this journey through time, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more incredible chapters from history. We'll see you next time in 1831.